Welcome to today's Awesome Marriage Podcast. Today, I have a great couple back again, Dan and Kay Ockey. They are the ones who lead Cincy. They are financial gurus. They are our financial partners with Awesome Marriage. You're going to love this podcast, a lot of insight. You see their heart and how they help people. I think you'll learn a lot from this podcast, so let's go right to the studio. Well, Dan and Kay, welcome to Awesome Marriage Podcast. It is so good to see you guys again. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. We're excited. Good to be back.
Yeah, so we're talking when we went on. I guess we first met probably 6 or 7 years ago, and to have watched Cincy, your ministry grow and the people you're helping, and probably more relevant now than it ever has been in the culture that we live in right now. And so it makes us talk about some things finance-wise and get your guys' input. But I do appreciate you guys. I appreciate that we are partners together in ministry, and so many couples that have come to us with financial trouble that have found you guys, and the difference it's made in their lives. Is very grateful for that.
Yeah, we're very grateful for the Awesome Marriage community.
So it seems like finances are out of control. We got inflation, we got rising costs. People don't know how to increase their income. So when it feels like our money is completely out of our control, are there things that we can do to take control of our finances? Because I see a lot of people that are so overwhelmed right now and just don't have answers.
Yes, absolutely. First, just to validate, it is a crazy time. It is tons of stuff going on, tons of hard things. So it's never this easy, simple thing. But hopefully today, as we're talking, you'll be able to see that there is a lot of hope. Even in today's climate, even with all this stuff going on, people are able to make financial progress. People are having success, and we see it every single day. So it is possible if that's your one takeaway. But specifically with this question, kind of two things there of things that you can do when you feel like that things are out of control are, one, tracking your own finances. And there was actually a study done with tracking your weight, and those who tracked their weight every single day lost like 50% more weight or something than the people who tracked 5 times a week instead of every day. So Dan can maybe pull up the exact numbers here, but
yeah, if I may, I'll read this. So this is just the power of tracking when it feels like things are out of control. So the Duke University Obesity Prevention Program published a study in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, wherein participants who stepped on the scale every day lost around 3 times as much weight and body fat compared to participants who weighed themselves less frequently. The 51% of participants who weighed themselves daily lost an average of 20 pounds, while those who weighed themselves about 5 days a week lost an average of only 7 pounds.
Yeah, so obviously we're not
weight loss.
Yeah, experts in this field. But the concept is very similar, right? If we are just, when you're wanting to lose weight, you probably don't want to get on the scale because it's scary. And that can be true with finances too. You just want to kind of sweep it under the rug. You don't want to know what's going on because it's intimidating. You don't want to know the realities. But just by knowing the realities and tracking, you will see success just by doing that. So that's a really simple first step to even start seeing those changes and start knowing where to go and what to do just by doing that one thing. So that's one thought.
So Kay, how do they do that? Somebody's saying, oh, that sounds like a good idea. What do I do?
Yeah. How would they start tracking?
What are some steps?
Yeah. So the thing that we love is using an automatic tracker that really helps to take out all of the thing of keeping receipts and entering it all in and all the manual labor. Yeah. And one that we personally use is Monarch, and we love Monarch. It's great. And with that said, just having a tracker do all this work and paying for that isn't going to solve all your problems. And so we have to do that. And then we have to be aware of it. We need to go in and actually look at what is happening and what's the input that we're getting. If you just stepped on the scale with your eyes closed, that wouldn't help. So you still have to be able to see what's going on in order to make changes. So that's how you would do it. You would sign up for an automatic tracker, link your bank accounts, it has bank grade security, all of those things, and just start getting all those transactions in there and categorized so you can start seeing where your money's going.
That's really good.
Yeah, we used to recommend mint.com, and Mint last year was free. It went out, they discontinued it. And so we went through 10 different budgeting apps and met with the owners and really did a deep dive to find the best one. And Monarch Money by far is the best one. Our clients love it. We love it. So if you're looking for the next budget app tracker, Monarch Money, it's about $15 a month or $100 for the year. And then they do a free trial.
It's very reasonable. Absolutely. With what the I'm just wired that way as a counselor, I guess, but information is so important to me. And the more information we get, more information that people get in the counseling room, it gives them more of an opportunity to do something different than what they've been doing. But I think it goes back to, we know we have a problem, but we have to say, I want to do something about the problem first, right?
Yes.
Because if you download Monarch and you sign up, and it's just not going to magically take care of things.
Right.
No,
but it's a great tool to let you know of where you are and what's going on.
Yes.
Very well said. Yeah. Monarch is not going to solve all your financial problems, but it will be a great start to identifying what you can control.
Yeah, that's so good. What are some of the things that you see that are causing financial stress in couples today? We talked about things are different in our culture. What do you guys see as you work with people?
Inflation is real. So, I mean, like Kay said at the beginning, if you're experiencing inflation and you're like, why are groceries and everything more expensive? Well, it's because it is. You're not crazy. That is true. That's real. And so what that causes a lot of us to do is when we start to feel that pressure, we start to feel like we need to do something different, but we don't know exactly what. So we start acting kind of sporadically. We see opportunities come along. We start trying to increase our income. We see programs that are promising us a quick buck. And we're seeing a lot of people try to hop into things that you're not necessarily ready to do. And we were talking about this a little bit before, Dr. Kim. Just, you need a strong foundation before you start trying to go build that business that's going to magically make you all that money. You need to focus first on getting rid of your consumer debt, your credit card debt, your car loans. A lot of car loans are we're seeing are problems, and get a strong savings account. And the problems we're seeing with a lot as people respond to inflation is they start trying to seek for the magic bullet. And the magic bullet doesn't exist. The magic bullet, if you are looking for one, is being real about your numbers, not spending more than you make, knowing where every dollar goes, and if necessary, taking on short-term temporary work, whether if that may be door dashing or delivering pizzas or asking your boss and work for more work, so that you can get rid of your consumer debt, pay off those debts, and then have more to work with. And so it's not like you don't have to do those things forever, but it's putting yourself in a foundation that you can take advantage of longer term opportunities when they come along. And so in summary, what are things people struggling with? And I don't mean to cut you off. It's inflation is real. Because we're feeling the pressures of inflation, we sporadically are trying to find the magic bullet. The magic bullet that doesn't exist and you will never find isn't real. But the one, if you are looking for the right thing to do, it's be real about your numbers, pay off your debts, do what's required to do so for a short term, even if it's a year or two. Get out of that situation so you have a strong foundation to actually build something for the long term.
Yeah, I think that's so good. And I was just thinking as you're saying that about short-term jobs to pick up, it seems like there's so many things, opportunities for people now. You mentioned like some of the food delivery services, but online, I see stuff all the time of somebody wanting, hey, you can work this many hours or something online. So you've got a lot more flexibility, I think, in trying to earn some extra income. And I know a couple couples I've seen that have really, could do some online work. And so they would do it after the kids went to bed. Or spend a couple hours and do something, and so I think we have a lot of options there that probably we didn't have that many years ago to do that. But I think you still got to say, like you were saying, and you can't look for the magic bullet. You've got to say, hey, I can do this and I can bring in this many more dollars a month, and that's going to help us move toward our goal.
One is greater than zero. And so we see a lot of times when we talk to people, they're like, oh, DoorDash isn't going to make me any money, or this online work isn't going to bring in that much money. But having something is always going to be better than having nothing. And in this case, every time.
Yes. And I think we talk a lot about, kind of twofold. First, you need to make sure you have the right system that you're putting that money into. Otherwise, all that extra income will just go right out the bottom of your bucket with a hole in it, you know? So definitely making sure you have that, and then working on the income is really helpful. And then when you are approaching income, we talk a lot about short-term versus long-term income. And as Dan was saying, kind of the short-term income are things when you're first trying to get that foundation, when you have debt payments, when you don't have an emergency fund saved. That's when you can't be picky. You just have to do what you can do. Short-term income only for a time, knowing that it's just for a time. We're just going to do this for 6 months, a year, whatever. You can map it all out. And then you can switch to long-term income, which would be more things like getting a raise or working on, trying to start that next business or whatever things that might be a little more exciting, and doing those long-term strategies. So it's not that we're against those things. They're great and great ways to make money. It's just not right now. You don't have time to be spinning your wheels doing things like that. You need to just do short-term income to get to a stable foundation so that you can use the time in other ways.
That's really good. So inflation is, do you see anything else besides inflation that they're struggling with? I mean, I think that covers something that hits everybody right now. Anything else that you see?
There's an expectation that we're finding among a lot of people that you should have the life you want right now. And maybe it's the life you saw your parents have. Maybe it's the life you see on social media. And I feel like this has increased since we've been doing this over the last 7 years. I feel like we're seeing more and more of this. Basically, like, I should be able to do the things I want to do with zero financial consequence. I deserve to have this truck, or I deserve to have this vacation because of how hard I work. You do work hard. You are working hard. You are sacrificing a lot, but you can't out deserve math. And so what that really comes down to is being real and honest about our situations. And deserving is, we God tells us a lot of things we deserve, and it's all greater than the things we think we deserve for ourselves. And so it's trusting that, being honest with ourselves and being honest with the numbers. Even if we work really hard, we still may not have the money to do things or have things that we want right now. And that's okay. You're not a failure if you don't have the money to have the vehicle you want now, or to be able to go to Italy, or do whatever you want to do, or have the house you want to do. You can work towards that, and you can work with God and trust and move forward in that way. And so a lot of the pressures that we're seeing, in addition to inflation, are self-inflicted problems of feeling that that everything you want and everything that you would like to have in your life, you would deserve to have right now. And that isn't true. But you can work to get there by being honest and working with God and following real principles and not out emotioning the math of your situation.
So for some of us, it might be getting off of social media for a while, because there's a lot of comparison games that start right there with social media. Well, they went there, or they got that new car, or they moved in that neighborhood. And so, I think it's around us all the time. We're confronted with it. And part of what I see is helping people be content where they are. And I think you're saying that, and then certainly work toward what you want. But I think Paul was such an example in the Bible of that he said, kill me, great. If not, I'll stay here and tell people about Jesus. He was content wherever he was. And I think if we can get that kind of contentment, but there's so much in our culture that just tells us be discontent. No, you need more, you need this and everything. And so I think it's a big battle. It's something that I think everybody fights to some extent, just because, I can get thinking about somebody gets technical advice or something with technology that I don't have, and I'm thinking, how can I rationalize that? I can use that, But no, it may not be the time. It may be, hey, no, we got to put some finances in some other areas, and we don't need to do that now. And so that helps a lot.
Yeah, that's very well said. And sometimes it's this challenge of, how do I be content but also make progress? And something that's helped me personally is this idea of being gratefully discontent, meaning everything taking time to acknowledge all the good in my life and all that I do have. We used to dream about being in the position we're in right now. And there's always another destination. And so it's recognizing that we have enough right now. We are in a better position than we ever could have hoped right now. And there's still more to do and more places we can go. but what we have right now is enough. And how awesome is it that we get to continue to work forward together? Look at everything we've gained rather than the gap between what we have. A great book is The Gap in the Gain, kind of on that subject.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And I think that's well said too. So what about couples that ways you see them work on finances, but it just doesn't work? And so they get frustrated again and just almost give up. What do you see there?
I think a common one is trying to do it yourself in a marriage. So that can go either way. Sometimes it's one person is like not allowing the other person, or is like, just you're not smart enough. I'm the only one that understands my beautiful spreadsheet, so you're not going to even get this. Or it's the other way around where they're like, I want nothing to do with this. They're self-disqualifying themselves. And it can be both ways, like in the relationship. And I think it really takes both coming together and being open and willing and humble enough to make actual progress. And once you do that, it's like, you're off to the races. Like, it's really powerful when you can take out that blame or that self-disqualification out of it and just go for it.
So Kay, with you guys, because you've done that, what did you see when you guys came together? Not only did you come together with finances, but you came together and you worked together, which some couples do not survive that either. But when you decided that we got to work on this together, we got to be a team, what did y'all see? How did you get there for couples that are just wondering that?
Yes. So our personal story, I'll try to give kind of a summarized version, but when we were first married, I came, daughter of an accountant, no debt, saving everything, never spent a dime. That was kind of my headspace, ready to budget, excited about it. And Dan came into our marriage with 20 grand of debt, racking it up more and more as time went on. This very entrepreneurial mindset of someday I'll make plenty of money and then it will all take care of itself. So why would we do that now? It's such a waste of time. And that was kind of like our two mindsets.
Yeah.
So it was very, very different for sure of how we approached and how we thought about money. So I sat down ready to like make a budget. Let's tackle this debt. And Dan's like, what? Like, why would I do that? So we personally definitely had a rougher road trying to figure it out because there wasn't a lot of resources that's what led us to design Sensei and create this business of someone who could sit down, compile all the things and say, here's a financial system for you. Go do this. I'll have this accountability, that third party to help you. It's shame-free. It's not just all this one-off stuff, right? So that's definitely what I would recommend for people now. But what we did was we went on this huge journey of learning about finances in every way we could. We read books about it. We read blog articles. We interviewed millionaires. We just did everything we could to try to learn. And then we started to notice patterns. We started to develop our own experiments and whatnot. And we were able to pay off our 20 grand of debt in 6 months while we were still in college. So that's what I'm saying with once we finally got on board and we're on the same page, it happened relatively quickly. It didn't mean it was easy. We still had to do a lot of work. We took on lots of extra jobs. We were looking at our numbers all the time, but it really was possible once we could come on the same page. So I think mostly it's lots of discussion, lots of being open, finding additional resources and learning about it together, not saying, I know everything, you're the one that needs to learn about this.
Right.
It's we need to learn together. And what can we approach this? How can we approach this in a mindset of together is better?
I was the problem, obviously. No,
I learned a lot too.
we both had things we needed to work on and learn together, as is every couple does. It's never, But the thing for me, twofold. Our money conversations were so tense. They were so frustrating. They were so painful that I realized, and I wasn't. She was willing to collaborate. I wasn't, because I had the mentality of I know what I'm doing and I don't need your ideas and thoughts. I was so wrong. And I realized that if I didn't come together with my wife, we this was going to either be a long road or it was going to end in a way we didn't want it to. And so I realized that my money beliefs were not more important than my relationship with Kay. That our togetherness and our unity was more desirable, more important, more godly than whatever beliefs I had about money on earth. And so
Yeah.
but that still didn't answer the question of what to do. And so when we finally had that realization, there was still conflict, there was still frustration, but the thing that saved us was going to other people and learning how they did it. We didn't know what to do. We had to learn. Just because you're an adult doesn't mean you know how to do money, especially when you get married. And you have to figure out how to do this together. You don't just magically know how to do that. You have to learn, either through by learning together or by getting educated. And
most of the time
and most of the time it's both.
Yeah.
And so the thing that saved us was third parties. It was going to other people and learning how they did it and then testing what they taught us ourselves.
I think that's a great point. And especially with young couples, so maybe in their church, maybe you find somebody you think, is doing well with that. And they're a stage or two ahead of you, to just say, hey,
yes,
will you spend some time with us? Will you talk to us about this? And just learn from them. In addition to, we'll talk more about Cincy later, but yeah, there's ways to, but I think the essence of what you're saying is you've got to decide to get on the same team, and you've got to decide that making this marriage work and having our finances in order is more important than the other way I was doing life. And I'm sure there was a lot of fun, except that you had this credit card debt.
That was great. We ate so well. We had some great vacations. It was awesome.
But honestly, the other way was fun too. Which I know people don't always think that, but like we have so many fond memories of those first 6 months when we were like just going crazy with working extra custodial jobs in the early morning, doing like work, next to each other on our computers, but it was so rewarding. So I think that sometimes people think like I'm just sentencing myself to this like terrible thing, but there's still room for a good attitude even in that, and you'll be able to find great opportunities and make memories, and working towards a common goal is like one of the most bonding things you can do in your marriage. So
absolutely. So that's awesome, because it's exactly true, because you're digging in and you see your little, maybe they're baby steps, but you celebrate it together because you both were a part of that happening. And then like when you got to paying off 20 grand in 6 months at that point in your marriage, that's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. Yeah, it was exciting.
It catapulted us forward. It built confidence in us as a couple. And when we made the final payment at our bank for our car, we had $27 in our bank account. And our marriage was as strong as it had ever been. That's so good. We had no money, but we had everything when it came to our relationship.
Yeah. And that's, when you get down to the really important things in life, that's what really counts. So most couples don't have the same mindset on money. Obviously, you guys are a great example going into that. And I think, when I do premarital counseling and figure out who's a spender, who's a saver, that very seldom are they on the same page with that. And very seldom is it both are savers. The ones that I worry about is where they both are spenders, and you're thinking, oh boy, get ready for this ride. But they don't have a good same mindset. So how do they get to that? You said you had a lot of talks and stuff, but I think people, since money is one of the top 3 problems in marriage consistently, I've been doing counseling for 40 years, and it's always been one of the top 2 or 3 things in marriage, but people can't talk about it, and they fight about it, and they argue about it. So how do they get there? How do they go from being a spender, saver, whatever the different mindsets are, and be able to talk about it without the fighting?
So many things to unpack. We have a whole section in our program just on mindset, but just to give you a little couple sneak peek things. One thing that I feel like we see a lot is this idea of what we call financial shoulds. And it's things like, I should be good at money, or I'm 45 years old, I should have this figured out. Everyone else has this figured out. Why am I not, And I feel like that can be sometimes amplified accidentally in a marriage too, because it's almost like they have it figured out and I don't, or I'm the one that's the spender, so I must be the bad person in this relationship. If they didn't have me spending all this money, I would be so much better, whatever the case is. There's a whole bunch of different ones. But I think just recognizing what we talk about is replacing those financial shoulds with a like concrete plan and reframing it to be something that's a little bit more like for example, I should be good at finances. Instead of saying that, say, okay, I'm not good at finances, and so I want to learn more about finances. That's something that like is a hopeful thing at the end of like you have a plan of action of how you're going to help that. So it doesn't mean just saying, oh, I'm good at finances and lying to yourself. And it also doesn't mean ignoring that should and just being like, well, I'm not supposed to say should, so just get that out of my head. It's like we have to use that as feedback and then move forward and reframe it into something that is actionable and actually helpful. So I think doing that personally and then doing that with your spouse helps you to be able to have those conversations, because now you understand why it's causing conflict or why the shame is coming up every time this conversation comes up. And you're able to go like a step deeper to solving that problem instead of just consistently fighting over this problem.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And, I think that we talk a lot about reframing when it comes to marriage, reframing your spouse. And I think that's such a great word, because that's really what you're doing. You're getting a different mindset to move forward and to, I think going back, really a lot of the essence of that, of getting rid of the arguments, is being on the same team and reframing and working on it together.
Mm-hmm.
Just that do something different, the insanity thing. Quit doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, because it's not going to happen. Dan, you're getting ready to say something.
It's normal for, like, I think one of the things that's just helpful to realize is it's normal for you and your partner to have a different mindset around money. Like, we all came from different families. And so to expect that we're all going to align on every little thing when it comes to finances, that's just not going to happen. If it does happen, you are, in my opinion, a 1 in a million couple.
Yes.
And so it's going to take work. And in addition to reframing our money beliefs and the guilt and shame we may feel around maybe things we need to improve on, the most important thing you can do with your spouse is have a conversation that doesn't necessarily always relate to the day-to-day, but relates to a shared vision, which is, what do you want? What do you want with money? What does money mean to you? Why do you, how did you grow up with money? What did your parents do? Understanding where your spouse came financially and how they view money and why they view money, it influences and informs everything, a lot of the decisions they make now. And so understanding that and then being able to say, okay, this is where we both came from. What do we want? And what do we want together? And then we have something to work towards. We may still have to figure out how we're going to get there together, because we may disagree on if we're going to fly or take a road trip. But it's important. It's important to first get a shared destination. If you want to go on a cruise to the Bahamas and your spouse wants to go to New York City for vacation, there's going to be a lot of conflict. And the first question that needs to be answered is, where do we want to go together? And where did we come from to get to this point?
Yeah, just figuring out and valuing that, I think too, Dan, valuing that's what's really, so it's going to make us have a better marriage. It's going to help us with our finances. It's going to connect us more. I think selfishness is probably maybe the biggest problem in marriage. And certainly that bleeds all over finances in most marriages.
Finances can't be Dan's way and it can't be Kay's way. It has to be our way.
Absolutely.
Getting that shared vision and figuring that out with open and respect to your partner, and really listening and making sure you understand them before you try to be understood yourself. It takes work, but it's so unifying. It brings so much joy to life.
So when you guys, in the 6 months, $20,000, and you guys, obviously, because of what you do now, you stayed on that track. But what about a couple that maybe, okay, we want to pay this debt off, they pay it off, and they just get back on different pages with money? How do you, in their budget and things, how do you stay on the same page and continue to do what helped you get to where you are?
Yeah, good question. I think in that example that you gave, like if you had just paid off debt and then you kind of, fizzle out and kind of start doing your own things or whatever, I think having what we call a roadmap, but basically having the next goals already there, I think that common goal strategy is like really what has been the most successful for us over the last 7 years. Is just, life doesn't end right after that. It's not like, okay, now we're good, finances are great. It's like we had a next goal and the next goal and the next goal, and you just keep working together on that common goal. And maybe the approach to those goals looks different because I'm not working a custodial job now, right? Even though I was when we were paying off our debt, but our goals continue and we keep going along that roadmap. That is really helpful to keep that common vision going all along the way.
So we knew when we paid off our debt, the next step was to save an emergency fund. And then we knew after that it was to invest. And we knew after that it was to get our house down payment going. And so it was having those clear structures that we'd already agreed upon when we were undertaking paying off the debt, that allowed us to just take the momentum that we had and move and carry it forward.
Yeah. And with those goals, we also would have customizable goals of things like saving for our baby and not having any medical debt with that. Or we wanted to go on a family vacation, and that became a goal of like, how do we get our family to Disneyland? Like whatever the goals are, they can be fun things later, right? But still that same vision, that same approach, that same excitement, I think helps your marriage in every other category too, not just in finances. It's like we're talking about things, we're communicating about things more than just getting stuck in the day-to-day. We have longer term vision, and you can start setting giving goals and things like that in ways that you can help others. Like there's so many things that can be really exciting about viewing money that way. And so I feel like you won't run out and just be like, okay, well, we did everything, all the goals, and now we're done. It's like you can keep that approach going forever,
Right. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And because I think paying off the debt, I mean, I think there's a joy that comes with that because that burdens off of you. But then once you get to those next steps and those next goals, that can be a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, we've got savings, so that the AC just went out. Okay, we can take care of that. Or,
exactly.
Or you've got money set aside for this trip, and then when you get to go on it and you come home and there's not bills coming in a month later, that kind of puts a black cloud over that trip that you just went on. And so it makes a lot of sense to continue to have those goals. And I think just doing that together. So you guys would probably sit down together and say, okay, what's our next goal? Something like that, or what? Yeah.
So the key to all of that, the way to maintain that over a long period of time, in our opinion, is a weekly financial check-in. And it's, the truth is, just as a household, if you go longer than a week about talking about your resources and managing the money, things are going to fall through the cracks. And so do you have to be 100% perfect? No, you won't be. But about 80% of the time, that meeting needs to happen, and having a clear discussion of where are we at? How much money have we spent? Are we agreed on what our current roadmap goal is? Is this where we're going? Do we both agree with that? What's the next goal after that? So we're all on the same page. It just keeps you aligned. And that 20 to 30 minute meeting we've been doing for 7 years is what I would say has been a huge contributor to our progress. We had a client, one of our earliest clients, just posted in our Facebook community. They've been doing this for 7 years. They're now millionaires. And I'm not saying it's like totally because of the weekly check-in, but they identified that as one of the factors that has contributed to their progress over 7 years. Sure. And so it's just recognizing that having regular conversations about money is a requirement if you would like to progress financially, to do more things in God's kingdom, to bless more lives, to bless your family, to have the life and do the things that you want to do. It is a requirement if you want it to be smooth.
Yeah. Because I think, just that communication is such an important thing. And no matter what area of our marriage that we're in, whether it's finances or whatever else. And if you stay on track with that, if you stay connected in that, then it's so much easier to stay on the same path, to stay on the same goals. And yeah, I love that. And I think because we encourage people to have a weekly marriage checkup. So combine them. Talk about your marriage. And make that be part of. In fact, I think we have a little worksheet people can use for that. Because finances such an important part of it. So now I think that's really good.
I've looked over that resource. That's a great resource. So yeah, that combine that checkup with the finance checkup once a week. And I mean, really, it's amazing what will happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, it is. So that's really good. I think that helps people stay on it, because I think our tendency is sometimes we just kind of relax, and sometimes we just keep relaxing. So maybe you take that first breath, to relax, and okay, get back on track then after that.
Sure. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So, okay, people are listening today and they're thinking, God, that sounds so good, but we've been married 25 years or whatever. Where do we start?
Yeah, it's very common. If you're in that situation, you're like, man, I wish we'd started when we, were newlyweds. Very common, and you're not alone. And there is hope. It's totally doable. We see couples do this all the time in that stage, 20, 25, 30 years, even beyond. So
yeah,
the answer to that question is, if both of you are willing to at least have the conversation, then it's time to go get with a third party of some kind and start taking steps, because you've already been married for so long. You already have tried out all of your ideas. It's time to go get some other input, and that's okay. And if you're both willing to do that, you will have success. There are all the resources that you need to be successful exist. You just need to be connected with them and implement them. And so, where do you start? It's a conversation with your partner. And if your partner is willing to do that, then you go together and you say, we're going to learn and we're going to go on this journey together. If your partner is not willing to get the finances under control, it is significantly harder to take the next step, because going by yourself, can you get things under control? Yes, but you will be continually sabotaged by your partner who doesn't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And so in that case, our recommendation is you need to talk to a counselor, either together or by yourself, on next steps, and tell your partner agrees to move forward with a financial third party. Otherwise, it will be difficult. It will be very frustrating, and the percentages and probabilities of success decrease dramatically.
Yeah, you got to get on the same page to start with. One of the things I was thinking about, we've talked about so many good things already. I have a couple more things to talk about, but with all of this, communication just seems to be such a big part of it. And one of the things I thought of is that my experience, the more I can get people to do like a weekly checkup, weekly financial, weekly marriage, you're communicating, I think the conflict level in the marriage goes way, way down, because you're listening to each other, you're understanding each other, you're getting on the same page with things. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you see that too with couples that may come to you and they've fought for years about their finances, and all of a sudden they're communicating, getting on the same page?
Yes, even just like logistically, if I was, I don't know, like Dan's making dinner and I walk in and I say, Dan, what was that charge that I just saw come through on, I looked at our Chase account, like it was $30. What was that for? Whatever. In the middle of that, I don't know like what he's gone through. Maybe he just got off this really hard work call. The kids might have just like screamed something, you know what I mean? Like there's so much that was happening. Nobody is in the right headspace to like do that. Plus I'm coming in a very like threatening fear type of approach, versus if I waited and that isn't as urgent as it seems right that second, right? And then I know we're going to talk about this on Thursday at 7 p.m. or whatever it is, then like, okay, now we are both in the frame of mind. We're ready to talk about this. We're ready to discuss, and that you're going to have a way better success rate if you do that. And then he's like, oh, I went to lunch with a couple buddies and they haven't been with me or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it could be something so simple that was so avoidable by doing it in that way.
Yeah, we do our weekly financial check-in on Sunday nights, and then we do our marriage check-in after that. Thanks to some your teachings, and the power that has brought to just our relationship. I think that's the biggest thing, is we know there's time to talk about it. And it's already scheduled and it's already set apart. And so when we have 3 kids, and so it is hard in the middle of parenting and life to just say, hey, there's this thing that you did that we need to talk about, or what was this financial charge? We know Sunday night for us is going to be our time to go through all of that. And if we're on vacation or traveling and we don't do it, we feel it. Kay just got back from a trip with a bunch of girlfriends, and we didn't do it on Sunday night. And the week was harder because we hadn't communicated, we hadn't connected. To your point, Dr. Kim, taking time to communicate together about the things we're working on, our money, our relationship, intimacy, our having fun together, all of those things, doing that weekly, our marriage is worth weekly attention. There's more things that we should get rid of to make time for that if we don't have the time to do that, because that our marriage, in our opinion, is worth more than those things.
Absolutely. Quit scrolling for 45 minutes is basically what you're saying. Yes,
exactly.
And put our time there. Yeah. And I think the other point that I think was really important, what you said, like your Sunday evenings, timing is so important. And I think sometimes we get impulsive and we want to talk about this right in the middle of something, and other partner or your spouse is not in the same place you are then, or kids are running around, or those kind of things. So having that designated time built in, and I agree with you, I think it needs to be once a week. We've done it for once a week for forever, for a long time.
Wow.
Because it just, and it started out, I think, with just calendar checks. And maybe that's kind of when we started with when the kids got maybe 5 years old, 6 years old, we had more things on the calendar. But then that evolved in some other things about talking about what do we want to do this week, or that it may say, hey, let's look at our finances. We weren't looking at our finances every week then, but we would use it from time to time. I think it's good to look at it every week, because I think I think when you get to the point that you guys are talking about, you get them to celebrate every week.
Yeah.
We're making progress on our debt, or my gosh, look how far we are along toward taking that trip, or taking the kids to Disneyland, or whatever it is. So there's some celebration that come with that.
It's fun.
And so I think all that stuff is so important. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I don't think many people think that finances are fun. And I think just watching you guys and talking about it, I want people to see that it can be, once you get on the same page with it and get a handle on things, it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
And it can be, and there's times that Nancy and I've had money set aside. Maybe we were going to go to special dinner or something, and then we found out something about a family that really needed something, and we just took that money and gave it to them. And there was joy in that. I mean, you just have flexibility to do things that you didn't have when you haven't gotten that position.
Absolutely.
Such good stuff. We've kind of talked around this, but anything else you'd say about, say, a couple is saying, okay, we've tried this, we've done this, we kind of feel stuck right now. Is it just getting back to the conversations? Is it just recommitting themselves? Any other ideas along that when you kind of feel like we're stuck right now?
Yeah, mostly I feel like kind of similar things. I feel like if you're wanting a specific resource, our free budgeting class is an awesome first step, just because that kind of opens some of those conversations. Sometimes if you just sit down, you don't really know what to talk about. You're like, right. Okay, money, what do you think? What do you think about it? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, can be sometimes tricky. So that kind of helps you to have an automatic third party thing happening where maybe that will give you some ideas of things to talk about. And it's kind of an easy bid. Like, hey, you want to come watch this with me? It's not like, can we dial in and talk about finances right now? Sometimes that might be a little intimidating for people.
Yes.
So that's all you have to start with. So that's one idea of something if you want to get those conversations started in kind of a low pressure environment, that could be a good starting point.
Yeah, that's great.
I think when you feel stuck, think about if you were actually stuck in real life. Like you're like, if you were actually stuck and you could not move forward, like you're in a mud pit. Yeah. What would you do? And you had your phone, you would call, you would look at resources. You would not just depend on yourself to get you unstuck. If you were legitimately stuck, you would ask for help. And if you feel stuck financially, then it's time to get help. It's time to go to a third party. It's a book. It's time to start learning. And there's no shame in that. There's always a next level to finances. There's always something else to learn. There's always something else to implement. It's not that you are lacking or flawed as a human being. It's just that you don't know what you don't know. And so if you do know that, it's amazing what happens when you start to get unstuck, even if you still are in a ton of debt, when it feels like you'll never get out of it. The progress is what brings peace. Knowing you're taking steps forward, one step at a time, especially together, it brings unity, it brings peace. And so if you feel stuck in your life, you're not a tree. You can move. You can
Quote of the day right there.
You can get help. Ask for help. Take the step. Go get a book. Watch our free budgeting class. It doesn't matter. Just do something. Don't stay there. That you listening to this podcast as a listener is already a good first step.
Absolutely. No, that's so good. So I kind of want to talk about Cincy for a minute, and I want people to know that at Awesome Marriage, we have very few partners because we're very particular about who we recommend to people. And we don't just grab a partner because, oh yeah, that'd be good, or we can get some commission or something like that. And we chose you guys a number of years ago because we love what you're doing. We love your heart. We love who you guys are. And I just cannot say enough good things about what I've seen Cincy do for people. So tell a little bit about that. The free class is certainly an entry point, but kind of talk a little bit about Cincy so people know a little more about that.
Well, first off, thank you for that compliment. We feel so honored to be a part of Awesome Marriage for sure. And all that you guys stand for and value as well. And really, yes. So what we have at Sensei, and we have lots of free resources too, but what Dr. Kim's specifically talking about is what we call our Personal Finance Accelerator program. And that is where we go and we are there helping you with all this stuff that we're talking about. We have a team of coaches that you're assigned a personal one-on-one coach that meets with you regularly. We have all the program lined up for you of what we call our financial growth system, which includes the weekly financial check-in, what you talk about in that, what does that even look, how do I have that successful 15 minutes or whatever, and what about your automatic tracker? How does that work? We set that all up for you. What about things like where your money is going and how that's going to help your roadmap, this idea of creating that vision together, the mindset, all of that stuff. So really the power in that is that accountability, that built-in progress that we're going to be making and helping you all along the way. And it's been so rewarding for us to be able to see people come in with situations where they are, arguing or fighting or on completely different pages. And by the end, they are able to do so much more and pay off tons of debt and buy the house that they wanted to. And some people who wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and felt like they couldn't, they're able to make that transition. Like there's just so many things that really change your life. We're not about just the managing the money and the dollars and all that. It's so much bigger than that.
Yeah, it's we built this program. The true purpose of this program is to help people build wealth for good. So it's to build wealth permanently for your family and yourself, and also build wealth to do good in the world. And we believe that's what God's called us all to do. And so we meet with you over a long period of time because it's not a silver bullet. 24 months. We guarantee that after the first year, you will have made or saved at least $5,000, or we'll give you your money back if you've completed the coaching calls. And we stand by that. And so we've had 1,100 households go through it. If you're looking for a third party and you and your spouse are in a position where you're both willing to have conversations and do the work, I mean, shameless plug. We can. This is the program for you.
Yeah, we'd love it. Love to have
we are here to help you. We want to work with you. We want you in our community. We need you, and you need us, and we will fight for you. We will do everything we can to help you.
Yeah, I love it. I love just that, and that's where I see that you guys are different than so many places. Your hearts are in it, and it is fun. I can't imagine how many times you had a chance to rejoice with somebody after they've paid off debt, made some continue their goals, and what a joy that's got to be.
We're addicted to it, Dr. Kim. You tell us as a therapist if that's a problem.
No, I think that's a pretty good addiction. I think that'll work. If people want to find you, we're going to put everything in the show notes, but if people want to learn more, where's the best place to go? There's
two places. Awesome Marriage you have our free class on your website, on your Instagram.
Right.
So if you want to see what we're about and just get a little more intro of how we do that, go through Awesome Marriage's free budgeting class that they have posted on there. If you want to see our content, we're on Instagram. Our biggest following is actually on LinkedIn, surprisingly. Those are the three places to go. And we've got free resources. But yeah, free budgeting class through Awesome Marriage. If you want more after this conversation, go to their website, go to their Instagram, and it's right there for you.
Sounds good. Yeah. awesomemarriage.com. Last question. What are you guys loving about your marriage today?
I love that question. I think one thing specifically that's been more on my mind lately is just as we've been in this really busy season of life. I mean, not that it's like super not busy, but in contrast with one of our kids in school, we have 3 young kids and all under the age of 5. And so it's just kind of been like babies and work and God, and that's it. There wasn't a lot of room for anything else. And so I feel like lately we've been able to add some more of our passions into life, of me being able to go visit friends on a girls' trip, or Dan's running like Spartan races lately. And so I think really being able to support each other in those endeavors has been something more recently that I've really enjoyed about our marriage and appreciated.
Oh, that's cool.
I love the phrase awesome marriage, because the other morning I woke up, I was like, I'm not trying to sound conceited, but I was like, I have an awesome marriage. Like, we have a good marriage. One of the things that came from us paying off our debt, we took these early morning custodial jobs, and it was 4 hours of scrubbing toilets. And so, it wasn't the most glamorous thing, but we started listening to books. And so Kay, who wasn't a big reader before that, actually became a major reader, and is still to this day a major reader. And so one of the things I'm really grateful for and enjoying in our marriage is just how much Kay absorbs and teaches me. And I feel like I'm built and a better person because of who she is and the knowledge she's absorbing. And so, we're a team. We're a real team. And I'm very grateful for her and the partner she is, and that God sent her to me.
Yeah, you guys are a great couple. So I think I know what a Spartan race is, but tell me.
Yeah, it's a Spartan race is an obstacle outdoor run. So you can do 5K, 10K, half marathon. And then they put these obstacles, like you got to carry a 60-pound bucket on your shoulder for a quarter of a mile. You got to climb up these ropes. You've got to get across these obstacles. You got to crawl under barbed wire in a mud pit. I sit on a chair for a lot of time and talking to people about money, and I needed to move a little bit. So I signed up with some friends, and that's been a great thing. I know you are very healthy and fit.
Around and work. Nancy and I both, working out has been a priority since the first year of our marriage, when we both weighed the most we ever weighed. And we looked at each other and thought, if this continues, we're going to be rolling out the door. And so we made a commitment then to start working out, and we have in different ways since then. So yeah, that's always been an important part for us. And I think it's helped our marriage. It's helped us be healthier. It's something we enjoy. And, it's sometimes we do it together. Usually we don't, because we kind of do different things. I don't see Kay doing a lot of Spartan races.
Not right now. Maybe someday.
Right now, though. 3 kids. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's great. Well, you guys are great. This has been a great conversation. Thanks for spending time, and talk again soon.
Looking forward to it. Always a pleasure, Dr. Kim.